guys? It's your girl Matt Cox with Maccouture Crafting. And yes, I have done another 3-yard quilt. And yes, this is going to be the last one that I do for the Daydreamer collection. I don't think I'm going to pull any more Tula Pink Daydreamer fabric this year. I don't think I am. I have some scraps that I might do a few things with, but I'm not going to go grab any more of this fabric. I think I've used it to death. But this is such a cool, beautiful, chill, like spring kind of feeling quilt. It's definitely one of my favorites. Matter of fact, it might be my favorite that I've done with the Tula Pink Daydreamer line. The quilt is called Park Place. The pattern is called Park Place. Of course, it's by 3-yard quilts. And I am going to show you. Let's take a look at it. Park Place. And there it is. It has some beautiful focal image areas here. I love that for the fabric number one. If you have something that you're trying to frame, this is really cool. I also thought this was awesome because I knew that I wanted those ombres to stand out around framing it, which it totally does. This is different from So Quick for a few different reasons, but the main reason is that this is done with the frame and this is also done with rectangles. So you're doing a 4-patch, but it's a rectangle 4-patch, which gives it a little oomph. It gives it a little something different. I enjoyed this. This is a fast sew, as are all the 3-yard quilts. They're really not super duper time consuming. This one is just so pretty. I think the parrots look so beautiful. And I didn't even know that I loved the parrot fabric, but turns out I do. I don't really think there's anything else to say. I give you some tips and tricks about how not to mess up this this 4-patch because you can. And other than that, I think that's it. So if you guys want to make this quilt too, please do. House of Threads is actually out of this kit as a whole, but they do still have some of the fabrics. You might have to chase down some of the others. I'm not quite sure, but I know that they don't have a full kit for this one anymore. Oh well. But you can again chase down some of these fabrics so that you can make your own. And I will check you guys out on the next one. Okay, bye-bye. So here's the pattern that we're working on, and here are the fabrics that I've chosen. I want the ombre to be here because I want us to really be able to see that gradiate, and I like that it's going to frame this. So this is going to be fabric number one, which is going to be the focal, which are the, what are these, parrots? Yes. This right here is going to be fabric number two, which is the ombre. And then for the black squares right here, we're going to make that fabric number three. Now I'm working out of the book, but you can download this pattern also. This should come out to be a finished size of 43 by 61, a nice size throw. Let's do it. So in the instructions, you do a partial strip cut, and then from another strip, you need to cut some smaller squares for the cornerstones. I think I am going to fussy cut these just so that I get a really nice focal image for the cornerstones. And that means that I'm going to have a lot of waste, but I'll have some really cool cornerstones. So I'm going to show you how I do that. I am going to first grab some painter's tape and mark off the size that I need for the cornerstones. So now that I've marked off what I want, I am going to try to center the image here however I want it. And I'm not being too particular on this particular image because it's kind of turned to the side, and so I'm just trying to see that I get the whole image in this L here, in this square. And I think I like where this is landing, and so I'm going to go on ahead and grab him just like this. Not being super duper precise, all of these will not be the same at all. And so I'm taking two corners, and then I will rotate this and put it right in the L that we've marked off. Put it perfectly in that L. And now I'm going to just cut the rest. And there I have a nice image for my cornerstone. Now I've got to find 3 more that I can do this to. I think I'm going to take this one, that one, and maybe this one. See, maybe this one, this guy here. Yeah. I think that's what I can get for, yeah, doing it. Oh, maybe I want one facing, nope. Okay, we'll take this guy. And now we have some fussy cut. Yeah, those will look good in the corners. Everything has been cut out, so this is going to be all of our fabric number 1, all of our fabric number 2, and all of our fabric number 3. This is kind of where, if I was going to do what I call zhuzhing up or hacking this Park Place quilt pattern, I can see here that there are 2 of the same size of this strip here, which is going to be the focal strip. I could just switch that out for a different fabric. Yeah, it's just, you know, just ways to play with it. There's 2 of this strip here, which are going to be, and what I'm saying is, like, when we look at this here, we could switch this out with different fabrics, and then we could switch out this right here with different fabrics too, so that you could use maybe 4 fabrics instead of 3. Just when you get it a little more advanced, or you just want to play with it, or you want to hack it or whatnot, that is what I would do to hack Park Place. I would switch out, maybe instead of doing a full yard of fabric number 1, I would do half of yard of one fabric and half of yard another one, and then just do the first 2 cuts and figure out what you want to do for your cornerstones. But this would be a great one to hack and put in more fabrics if you wanted to. So we've got our strips there. Then we've got the strips that are going to border the quilt, so a bigger one, and then these here. Then we have binding and border strips. The binding is the super small one. So now I'm getting ready to put it all together. First step, I'm going to take 2 of these strips and 1 of these strips, and I'm going to sew it together on the long side. So we are going to just, actually first I'm going to iron out these creases in the center, and then we'll sew it together on the long side. Now that everything is sewn, I am going to take it over to the sewing to the ironing board and just flip this back just like this. I'm going to keep it there and then I'm going to flip it back and iron it and do the same thing here for the bottom. So we've got this all pressed out and whatnot. So now we are going to start subcutting. And with these, take off the least amount that you can because you just don't know what you're going to need in these strips. I mean, you could do the math and figure out what you need, but I find that you really do need the entire strip. So don't be too generous with taking off your selvage. You want to take off just the least a bit. One of the reasons why I try to line up that very first strip, make sure that the selvages line up the best I can so that I don't have to worry about that. So the next step is to take the longer but shorter, I mean not longer, but the shorter strips and start working on that other block because we have already cut all 10 of those. And there are 2 of these strips and a partial right here. And so I'm going to go on ahead and sew the partial together on its long side and then press it open. And then we can cut these up. Let's do that. So we have sewn these 2 strips together. Now we are going, I pressed it, and now we're going to subcut. I am trying to get 20 of the necessary size out of 2 strips and a partial. Okay, so from all the strips, you're able to get 9 out of 1 strip. So we have these left over. And now we have all that we need. Here is something very, very interesting. When you're putting together a 4-patch, so this is going to be our 4-patch here, you want to be sure that the right combination is how you're sewing these together. I'm going to give you an example. Our fabric 1 is the bird, and the design calls for the fabric 1 to be in the top left. So this is our fabric 3, and I'm going to need to sew it together this way and on this side. Oddly enough, this is a different quilt, just this simple. This makes a different pattern overall. I learned that the hard way, and luckily the other one where I learned this lesson was an actual square. This is actually a rectangle, so you really want to be careful if you're following the pattern to put the fabric where they say to put it and then sew it together and be consistent, because it's very easy to just flip these around like, oh, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. So let's start setting these up appropriately. How am I going to do it? I think I'm going to do 10 here this way and then 10 and then take them over to the sewing machine just like this and pull like that, just, and then we'll be cooking with gas. Then I'm going to take these with me over to the sewing machine too and sew on the side borders. Let's do it all. all of the patchwork has been done, it's time to throw on these borders. So I'm going to take all these borders and just sew them end to end along with these extensions. And then you're going to sew down one side, cut it even, sew down the other, and just keep working your way around the quilt. So now that all the first border is on, I'm going to measure this, the top border, and then I am going to cut the next border strip the width of this. Then I'm going to sew on 2 cornerstones to either side. Then I am going to attach the side borders, the big thick side borders, and then lastly I'll attach that strip that has the cornerstones on it. So the first step is measure this top, cut a strip that measures its length, and then sew the cornerstones on either side. I'm going to do that for the top and the bottom. So the side panels, not panels, but the side borders have been sewn on. So I'm going to find the strip that I marked. I wrote on it. It says bottom. And I know that this is the bottom and it's the top is up here. So I'm going to be sure that I make the parrots face away too, because that's how I want them to sit, like that. I want the parrots to be, their heads to be this way. So then I'm going to roll it down here and pin it right here, because this is the important part. So we're going to pin this and just sew down. Okay, now all of the thick borders with the cornerstones are on. I'm going to go back and revisit this border strip, which is going to go around and finalize it. I really like the way this is coming out and the way these borders look, this thin one, then the bigger one, then the thick one. Like, it looks really good. I love these cornerstones. They came out really nice. So I am just going to cheat and start on the sides. I'm going to sew both sides, then I'm going to press it, and then I'm going to go across the top, and then we're going to call this puppy a wrap. All right.